Dana White Contender Series preview. I am your host. I am Keith Shillan. I'm a writer for SureDog. This program is getting brought to you by SureDog Radio Network and the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. We're going to get right into it. Last week, my picks were okay. I went 2-2. I picked two underdogs. Neither one of them worked out for me. So hopefully I have a better week. I'm really excited about this week. Some really good talent. We had a late change, but I actually think it might have been a good change. So let's get right into it. First fight of the night, we have Danny Sabatello versus Taylor Moore. Really like this matchup. Oh, I shouldn't say I like the matchup, but one of the guys I really like. Danny Sabatello, 27 years old, American top team fighter. He's a reigning Titan FC champion. He has an 8-1 record with his only loss coming to Irwin Rivera, who obviously is currently in the UFC. He's a pretty confident fighter from interviews, and a borderline cocky guy. He's long and lengthy, very big for the weight class. Not very technically sound on the feet. He is a combination boxer. You know, when he attacks with a high volume. He does throw hard. He throws lots of kicks, pretty good calf kicks. He was hurt to the body by Irwin Rivera, which might be a weakness. Could have like a little Don Cerrone in him. But everything about his striking is to set up his takedowns. He strikes to set up takedowns. He's a very good wrestler, former D1 wrestler, solid entries. He's relentless with the takedowns. Like if he misses it, he doesn't give up on it. He'll continue to, look for another takedown, over and over again. I mean, he tried against Irwin Rivera, even though Irwin Rivera was stopping a lot of the takedowns. Oftentimes he will shoot from too far away, without a setup. I apologize. My dog is barking for no reason at all. He also will look for body lock takedowns, get around the way he's taken down. When he gets to the ground, very good on top, a good heavy pressure. He'll make sure he has a position before he looks to advance, make sure he secures position. He does look to get to a better position, so he'll slowly work to side mount, to mount, wherever. Really solid ground and pound, but like I said, he'll make sure he has the guy's shoulders that gets to the ground before he starts landing shots, and he's a submission threat. Move over to his opponent, Taylor Moore. He's 27 years old. He's 10-4. His record is a little deceiving. He's beat up on some really low-level competition. Of the 10 wins, only 3 of the guys had a winning record when he fought them. He trains out of the Scorpion Fighting System team, which is a team that seems to be booming right now, or just kind of like one of these teams that we didn't really know about that long ago. And then suddenly through this contender series, they just keep having more and more fighters. If you're not familiar with that team, that's the one where Amanda Bobby Cooper trains out of. Her boyfriend, or husband actually, Brendan, what was it? I can't think of his first name. I apologize. Alicia Zapatella is out of that gym. Josh Parisian's out of that gym. So it's a pretty good, squad that he's with. He's also big for the weight class. He's a former, featherweight moved down to bantamweight, so he's got some size. He's a southpaw. Kind of has an awkward style, uses a lot of up and down feints, meaning, a lot of crouching up and down to kind of fake like he's going to go for a takedown. He also leans a lot to his left, which could leave him open for a hook or a kick on that side. He hangs his hands low, which I don't like. He does have pretty fast hands and decent pop. Nice kicks to the body. Though he doesn't strike well off his back foot. He really needs to be the one coming forward, not getting pressed back. He can also just swing wildly. He can kind of get pulled into a firefight. Nice reactive takedowns. When he does get a takedown, he's not like Sabatello where he does like to hold position, so he is like Sabatello in that sense. But like he'll just sit in the guy's guard and do nothing. I watched one fight. He was just on top in his opponent's guard. He was really kind of boring fight. Though he's a pretty good offensive wrestler, I think he's kind of a weak defensive wrestler. Like he's been taken down in a lot of fights, and he kind of struggles to get back up. As far as prediction, I like Sabatello to win this fight, and I think it's pretty easily. I think he has advantage, the big advantage on the ground. It's something that Moore kind of needs takedowns. That's a big part of his game, and he's at a big disadvantage in this one. I expect Sabatello to take him down, to beat him up. I think more will make it to the decision, and because of that, Sabatello won't get a UFC contract. But this is probably my most confident. This actually is my most confident pick. So this is going to be my lock of the night. And my lock of the night is to take Danny Sabatello to win. I know he's a big favorite. I'll head over to let's over to 5 Dimes right now. Danny Sabatello is a negative 515 favorite. So yeah, I am kind of weaseling out by saying it's my most confident pick, picking such a huge favorite. But it is what it is. The next fight is a fight I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to all these fights for different reasons. Luana Pinheiro versus Stephanie Frausto. I'll start with Pinheiro. Pinheiro's a very good looking girl. We can just get that out of the way. She's 26 years old. She's 7-1, Brazilian. I did watch her loss, and I actually thought she won the fight. Not a Robbie by any means. It was definitely a close fight. But I actually think she should be 8-0. She's a Brave FC veteran. She's developing her stand-up. She's pretty raw on the feet. She does have pretty good footwork. She's light on her feet. Her hands are fast. And I think her pocket, like when she gets to the pocket, she's pretty comfortable there, but her outside game still needs a lot of improvement. Decent power. She can be a little gun shy sometimes. Like I watched one fight where it's actually her loss. Like I didn't think she did enough. Or I do think she won, but I think she needed to pick up the pace a little bit and really secure that victory. Though sometimes she will just kind of charge wildly into the clinch, which I actually don't hate because she excels in the clinch. I mean, this girl is a judo black belt. And not just a judo black belt, she's like a world class one. She's very high level judokan. Really good, clinch striking, dirty boxing, knees and elbows in there. But when she gets the clinch, you want to look for her throws. Fantastic throws, really good in the scrambles. One thing though, because she's a judokan and she goes for throws, a lot of time in judo, if you don't understand judo, you don't get penalized for missing a throw. It's actually encouraged to go for throws. And because she goes for throws and she misses it, she'll give her back leg exposed. So that's not good. But she's a real submission threat. She got 5 first round submissions. Move over to Stephanie Frausto. If you recognize the last name, that's because she's the younger sister of Zola Frausto. She's not that young though. She's 30 years old. She's an 8-6 record. She's a veteran of Invicta and Bellator, so you might have seen her before. I think sometimes I talk about fighters and say their records are deceiving. Sometimes their record is much better than it should be, padded record. And then sometimes a record looks worse than, it is. I think I didn't mean to say Zola. Stephanie's Frausto's record is a pretty good indication of her skill set. She's 8-6. She's pretty mediocre. I don't understand why she's on the show. She's not very athletic. She's an average striker at best, kind of slow. She has a Muay Thai style. She does that. She lifts her leg up a lot. That classic Muay Thai. They lift the leg up so they can turn over the hip really easily. Throws a lot of kicks. Teep kicks are probably her best. Defensively, she has a lot of holes. Just kind of covers up. Keeps her head on the center line. She doesn't handle pressure well. She kind of needs to be the bully. Clinch striking, she does well in that. That's the position where she has some skill set. And that's a position I think she'll be in a lot, considering she's going against a judokan. That it could be fun when we get in the clinch battles. She works in the plum clinch. She will go for throws herself from the clinch, which I don't expect her to throw her opponent. Pinheiro. But I just want to point out that she does like to throw it too. She's okay in scrambles, nothing spectacular. She will give up position looking for submission though. She's not like, she's a submission threat, but she's not a weak submission person. Weak takedown defense. She struggles to get up and bottom. So basically, what I just want to recognize, she's just middle of the pack in pretty everything. So she doesn't have a glaring weakness, but she's not like really good at anything. So to me, this could be a blowout for Pinheiro as long as she isn't scared to press the action, that the big lights, they don't get to her, that she isn't gun shy like I've seen her in the past. But if she does press the action, gets to clinch, I think she takes down Frausto easily. If she does get Frausto to the ground, I think she ends it. I think she gets a submission. I think it could be another first round submission. So I will say that Pinheiro gets a first round submission and she earns a UFC contract. And I like this girl's future. Like, she's someone I have an eye on. She really impressed me in tape study. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing at her. Next fight we have Joseph Lowry versus Nikolas Motta, two fighters that if you're a hardcore, you probably I shouldn't say probably be familiar, but you might be familiar with these two. Lowry, 30 years old, former CFFC champion, has a 9-1 record. He beat UFC veteran Justin Edwards. His only loss came to Devontae Smith. That was on the Contender Series in 2018. He was also featured on the Looking for a Fight, so we've seen him a lot of times. Kind of like his third chance at the UFC. He's well-rounded. He is a counter striker, and that's because he has good head movement. He has really good slip and rip style. He loves his power strike, so he'll slip, power strike, his right hand, his left hook. When he's moving forward, when he's being aggressive, he works behind a jab. He attacks with combos, throws kicks to all parts of the body. Doesn't really check kicks, which is an issue, but does have pretty good pop-in strikes, good clinch striking, nice plumb clinch, locks it down, likes to frame opponents against the cage, land a knee, land an elbow. Will sneak in a takedown. Decent wrestler. Not a big submission threat person. Like I don't think he'll get a submission if he does hit the ground. But he's pretty well rounded. I like Mari. But I also like Motta. So let's talk about Motta for a second. Motta's 27 years old. He's a student of Ricardo Almeida. He has 11-3 record. He has some good wins on his record. I mean, he beat Joe Solecki, who is currently in the UFC. He also knocked out Cesar Balmaceda. I don't know. I said that really weird. Balmaceda. He's a really good prospect. A lot of people like. He's a tough Brazil veteran. He was featured on that show. I think he went like 2-1 in that show, or maybe 1-1. I actually don't remember, but he did get some wins on Tough Brazil. I usually watch all of the Tough seasons. I don't really watch the Brazilian one. But like reading the subtitles the whole time. But really good power. Though he's a little flat-footed, he does have he fights behind a high guard, keeping his hands high. Has more of a bob and weave in style, which will be really fun with going against Mariusz, like slip and rip, pull and power style. Especially if they get in that pocket, like that should be really fun. Stinging jab, he does rip the body, throws lots of kicks. He mixes the kicks in well with his punches. Has a very good sneaky high kick. He can be a little tentative at times, and that might be because he's been knocked out a few times in the past. Good Muay Thai clinch, works with the knees, very similar to Lowry in that sense. Not much of an offensive wrestler and a pretty weak defensive wrestler at all, and also not much of a submission threat, though he does do well to get himself back to the feet. This is a hard matchup to pick, and I like both of these guys. I think they're both UFC talents. Neither guy is going to be contending for the title, but I think they're better than some guys currently on the roster. I expect this to be very competitive, very back and forth. I think on the feet, especially if they get to the pocket where they both excel, that should be really fun. Both have the power to really hurt each other. I think they both have moments. But I'm going to lean Mari simply he has shown me more in the ground game. So, as my buddy Big Marcel Dorff would say, he has more avenues to win the fight. Now, does he use that? I don't know. I almost expect him not to, but knowing that he has that advantage in one area makes me want to lean towards him. So I'm going to take Mari by decision. That's actually an upset pick. I'm going to say that is going to be my biggest upset. So I'm going to say that's my upset special is Joe Mari. The UFC likes him. This is his third chance. So I think this is going to be war. I think it's going to be a bloody affair. I think that's going to impress the UFC brass, especially Dana White. So I say Mari does get a UFC contract in a war. Moving on to the fourth fight. This was one where we had a last minute substitute after I did tape study on Randy Quinones. We have, and I might butcher his name, Shaheen Santana versus Natan Levy. Levy took the fight this week. Santana is 29-0. He's 6-0 as a pro from what I've seen as what I could gather from amateur. Looked like he was undefeated as amateur too. Trains out of MMA Masters. So he's with a really good team. of his 6 professional fights, I was only able to find one fight, which is like the ongoing theme. It seems like every single week I struggle to find. There's always one guy or girl, one fighter who I struggle to find film on. This is the one, is Santana. From what I did see, long and lengthy guy, huge for the weight class. He's very calm in the stand-up. And I say that a lot, and I use that as a compliment, but in his sense, I think he's almost too calm, he's almost like lethargic with it, like kind of lazy. He does switch stances, though he stands up really high. He kind of has like tall man's defense, kind of like a James Vick style. He does throw step-in knees, and he does that well because he is so tall that it doesn't take much for him to touch his opponent with a knee. Weak defensive wrestler. Though when he does hit the ground, he does very well to wrap up his opponents. He has very long legs. He'll just wrap around his opponent's body. Very flexible. He is a submission threat. Of his 6 wins, 5 of them by submission. In the one fight I did see, he almost had a guillotine. He almost had a ninja choke. Though he did give up his back to go for submissions. And he also got very tired. The one fight I saw was actually the fight that went to a decision. And he was very tired at the end of that fight. Moving on to Levy. Levy taking the fight on short notice. 29 years old. He's from Israel. I think he was born in France, but now he's from Israel, but he trains in the United States with Vegas and Syndicate in May. So he's also with a good team. So it's nice to see 2 power teams kind of going at it. He's 5-0. From what I've seen, he was also unbeaten as an amateur. He's an LFA veteran. He actually was scheduled to fight in the LFA next month. So I'm not as concerned about like gassing out because of that. Now I do have concerns about him gassing out just because I've seen him slow down in the past, but I'm not concerned him gassing out because of a short notice fight. Southpaw has a karate style. He drops his hands, but he does a lot of fancy side stuff, side kicks, spinning attacks. He continually looks like for a hook kick. I once saw him through an axe kick, which to me is just pretty much a waste of energy. But his best strikes are probably his teep kicks, though he doesn't throw them enough. With his hands, he just kind of sits back and then suddenly explodes, kind of like a Lyoto Machida style. Not as nowhere near as defensively sound as Lyoto Machida, and doesn't have the one punch power that Lyoto Machida does. But he's pretty accurate like him. His left hand is pretty accurate. His check right hook is a good weapon for him when he's getting pressured. His chin has been checked. He's been hurt several times, including his last fight. He was hurt really bad, almost to the point where I thought the referee was going to stop the fight. He will wrestle. He wrestles surprisingly a lot, and he's actually a pretty solid wrestler. He has good, and he has a good takedown defense if you try to take him down. And this is something I don't say often, but it actually works for him. I've always believed the best way to stop a takedown is sprawl in, to hip in, to wizard, to, do your classic wrestling defenses, underhook, posting on the head, whatever. He definitely does that stuff, but he definitely looks even more for submissions. He'll stop a takedown with a guillotine attack or a Kimura. So I don't often think that's a good thing, but in this case, it works so far well for him. He's good in transitions, has some nice back takes. He is a submission threat himself. He can get submissions from the top or from the bottom. But like I mentioned before, cardio might be a little bit of an issue if this goes deep in the fight. This is a tough call. I want to pick Santana because he's so big. It's going to be hard to get inside on him. He is such a big submission threat, so he obviously has that avenue to win. That said, I'm actually going to take Levy on short notice. I've seen more film of him, and what I've seen of him, I actually like. I like his skill set. What I've seen him, he looks more rounded, especially on the feet. Like he looks like a better fighter on the feet, which is ironic considering he'll be giving up a huge reach advantage, size advantage. But like I said earlier, what I said about Marcel Dolphin, I just think there's more avenues to victory. So I'm going to take Levy by decision. No confidence in this pick at all. I'm not going to give him a UFC contract because I believe it's going to go to decision. But the reason why I'm not confident is I did not see enough film of Santana to really feel like I have a grasp of his skill set, especially in the stand-up. And moving on to the main event, and apologize, I'm going to try to get this guy's name correctly. But I believe it is Mariusz Ksiaskiewicz. It's going against Mariusz Sousa. I'll start with Ksiaskiewicz. He's 31 years old, veteran of Alaska FC, also veteran of TKO. Canadian. He's southpaw, pretty aggressive. He's aggressive, but I don't think what I should say is I think he wants to be aggressive. I think he wants to press the action, though I don't think he has a skill set enough to be a pressure fighter because he really follows his opponent and stalks his opponent. He doesn't cut off the cage. When he is getting in his range, he pumps the jab. He doesn't really have a stiff jab. He kind of pumps the jab, kind of just touches to distract because his straight left is really his kill punch. That's his best strike. Uses feints pretty well to draw out his opponent's attack. Got some pretty decent power, though he can square up a little bit sometimes when he strikes, which obviously causes him to lose power, but also leaves him open for a big series of shots. He needs to really clean that up. He loves the left kick to the body, which being a southpaw, and when he faces an orthodox fighter, will be there often, so I like that. Good wrestler, actually. Surprisingly, for a guy, Canadians aren't really known for their wrestling. Good entries. We can get some clinch takedowns, solid takedown defense when you try to take him down. Strong ground and pound. He has 5 submission wins, so I like him on the ground. Move over to Mariusz Sousa, 24 years old, Brazilian, 11-1 record. This dude is absolutely massive for the weight class. He's 6'5". He's got like that big guy strength. Like he's very strong. I saw one fight where he just lifted a guy up over his head with just one leg. Fast hands, though, they're kind of wild. Reminds me of kind of a lot like an Alex Oliveira style. They're kind of winging, but they're fast. They come from weird angles. When he does try to keep his range, which isn't nearly enough, he likes those down the middle teep kicks. Very good in the clinch, but it happens a lot. The guys are tall. Not much of an offensive wrestler and a terrible defensive wrestler. He struggles to get off his back. But I don't know if he's really trying because he likes being off his back because he's a serious submission threat. He uses those long arms and those long legs those long legs to get up arm bars easily, to get up triangles easily. He is willing to give up a position to get a submission. I mean, he's been swept several times. But he definitely has between the size on the feet and the submission on the ground, he definitely, has the ability to finish the fight. This is a really tough matchup, which seems like be an ongoing theme for the last 3 fights. And I was pretty high on Pinheiro and Sabatello in the first 2 fights. That's why I like this card so much. I like both these guys. I think both these guys, could be on the UFC roster. I think they would do okay too. Sousa definitely has the physical tools to dominate. He could get a quick KO. He could get a quick sub. That would not surprise me at all. And I definitely think if he wins, that's probably the avenue. It's either him getting a knockout, a sub, maybe a ground and pound, something like that. I don't expect him to get a decision if he does. However, I'm actually going to go with, I'm struggling with this name, guys. I wrote it down, but, I wrote it down phonetically. I'm still struggling. Ksiaskiewicz, I'm going to go with him just because he's more technically sound. He's going to be in trouble a lot. I expect this to be a war. I just think he can get it done in an upset. So this is my second upset pick out of 5. So give me, Ksiaskiewicz. I'm going to say another back and forth bloody war. I think he wins by decision, but I think it's going to be such an action-packed fight that he will get a UFC contract. So, there you guys have it. Those are my 5 picks, plus my upset special and my lock. Hit me up on Twitter. My handle is at Keith Shillan MMA. I'll spell that out for you. That's at KeithShillAnMMA. Hit me up on Twitter. Tell me who you're picking. And then we only got 1 more week, guys. And then the season, this is maybe the 4th season of the Contender Series. Actually, my 3rd season of covering it. Covering it 3 different ways. The first time I wrote for Fansided, 2018, I was writing for Fansided. Last year I was writing up articles for Sherdog, but this year is the first time I podcast form, which is definitely the easiest way. I should have done that a long time ago. Anyways, guys, hit me up on Twitter. Tell me who you're picking, and I'll see you guys next week.